So instead, what we did was we went and did. We're selling a lot to marketing people and marketing ops people, commercial ops people, and they spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. So we basically build up an audience on LinkedIn by talking to these people,
Mhm.
and that has been probably our most successful growth factor.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the B2B SaaS Podcast. Today we have Lars Gronegard with us. Hey, Lars. Welcome to the
Hey,
show.
Upendra. Hey, Upendra. Thanks for having me on the show.
All right, Lars. So let's try to understand what your company does, right, and why customers pay you money. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah. So I'm the CEO of a company called Dreamdata and a co-founder of the company, and we help mostly B2B SaaS companies understand how that go-to-market strategy works, both at sort of a strategic level and at a more tactical level. So which things they do lead to new customers, which things are cost efficient and that kind of thing.
All right. So I want to deep dive into this a bit, right? So what can you just pick one of your customers, right, and help me understand, right, how you're helping them exactly? You can talk a bit about the specifics here as well, right? What your product does exactly, right, and how you are able to do that.
Yeah, so like a typical customer for us would be like a B2B SaaS company. And we would offer basically tracking of everything that goes on the website. And then we would be pulling data out of their CRM system, their various advertising systems, and their marketing automation platform. And we get all that data together. And once you have that data in one data platform, you can do things like say, okay, how much revenue did my marketing team contribute last month? Or you can, from the marketing team, you can say, hey, I spent $50,000 on Google Ads last month. Was some of that actually effective? Did some of it impact the pipeline? Was some of it like without any impact? And then you can remove spend and you can sort of readjust your spend. And then
Got
you
it.
can also, like for ad platforms, you can feed some of the data directly back to the ad platform so that they can optimize the ad serving based on that.
All right. So where do you pull in all of this data from? You mentioned ad platforms. Are there any other
Yeah.
data sources that you typically sort of pull in data from?
Yeah. So like we mostly work with B2B SaaS companies. So very often LinkedIn ads is a big source of advertising leads. Google ads, especially search ads, but also display ads. B2B SaaS, like we are big on G2 and Capterra, so review platforms are also important. So
Mhm.
that's some of the platforms we pull data from. And then big CRM systems like Salesforce is, of course, a very big one. HubSpot is also becoming more and more popular also in mid-market. And then we have tracking data, which either we have our own tracking infrastructure or we can pull data from products like segment.com.
Got it. And do you have any intelligence added on top of all of this data, right? Is that your product, or are you just showing all of this data in a nice, easy to use fashion?
I think of course, there's like at the end, there's some intelligence, but I think the very hard part is actually stitching all the data together into one data model. That's where, if you want to build this yourself, that's where you're going to break your neck because you're pulling data from maybe 10, 15 sources, maybe 20 sources. Each source has a representation of the user, of the company, maybe a representation of business value and a representation of something somebody did. So they're like every object in your data model exists in all these systems. And now you have to deduplicate everything, stitch it together so that you could basically say, hey, this pipeline deal I created yesterday, okay, which company was it for? That's easy. Who were the people? Who were the other people I already know in other systems and what did they do? And if I can associate some money I spent, how did that impact? So tying it all together,
Mhm.
that's really the big sort of effort of our product. And then
Okay.
once you've done that, you can apply different types of advanced statistics on top of it. We also do that. But typically, like if you are, say, a data team internally in a company, that's probably what you like to do.
Yeah.
What you hate doing is all the stitching of data. So we have customers that use our product like very tactically out in the show, like looking at the data in our product, but we also have lots of customers that are basically just taking our data models, putting them into BigQuery or Snowflake and using them there in their own, as part of their own data infrastructure.
Got it. Let's talk about your customers here, right? So how many paying customers do you have on your platform as of today?
So we have 100 paying customers, and then we have roughly 300 to 400 free customers. So we have a very sort of a super useful free product.
Okay.
We also have to think is useful. But basically, if you're using Google Analytics for your web analytics, it's not that great for B2B companies because you're typically just counting people. So we have like a B2B equivalent of Google Analytics that we offer for free. So we have like 400 to 500 customers on that are free.
Yeah.
And then we have around 100 paying customers that are using sort of pulling in all the different data sources and getting the product.
So I want to get a sense of how big these customers are, right? Typically, how much do they pay you on a monthly or on a yearly basis?
So the average customer is paying roughly 30,000 euros or dollars annually. But we have customers that are sort of stepping into the enterprise sector, but we are definitely sort of a SMB mid-market type of company at the moment.
Got it. Right. So that makes a lot of sense. And I want to understand your growth as well, right? Before we move on to your growth journey, right? So like last year, 12 months before today, right? So where were you? How many customers you had on your platform?
So last year we roughly 4x'd both our revenue and our customer base, paid customers. So we had like a very good year of growth last year.
You essentially moved from 25 to 100 odd customers in a year. That's what you did.
Something like that. Yeah.
Right.
So we're also at the beginning of the journey. So growing from a small base, you can have some really hefty growth numbers, but it was a really good year for us for sure.
So let's talk about this, right? So where you're getting all of this growth and customers from, like what's really been working for you? Just start from your top of funnel so that we could deep dive and understand how it's all working for you. Just purely from a top of funnel perspective, like what's working for you as of today?
I think we've tried many different things, and some things were not that effective. We did outbound sales, which is maybe a go-to tactic for early stage, and it maybe also because of the people we were, it didn't work very well for us. So instead, what we did was we went and did. We're selling a lot to marketing people and marketing ops people, commercial ops people, and they spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. So we basically build up an audience on LinkedIn by talking to these people. And that has been probably our most successful growth factor.
All right. So what do you mean by building audience? I want to understand this, right? So is it you establishing yourself as a brand or influencer, or like is it that company's brand? Like what's happening on LinkedIn? Just deep dive into it.
Me and other people from the company. So we made a sort of mission for everybody in the commercial team to be very visible on LinkedIn and communicate to our sort of core audience, our ICP and core persona, and basically engage with them and talk about things that they care about, which is marketing, B2B marketing, B2B SaaS marketing. How do you do it? What worked, what doesn't? What are the pains? Basically, I think it's not that hard if you're super excited about yourself. It's just talking about the stuff that you love and building connections with these people. And for salespeople, because sometimes we have salespeople that would come in from other verticals. Well, that is part of their onboarding is, stepping into this social media selling strategy and building up their audience.
Okay, so I want to understand a bit more here, right? So just help me quantify, right? So out of you've got around 75 new customers, right? So what proportion of these customers have actually discovered you through this social media strategy of yours?
Yeah, I would say probably 50 to 60%.
And what about the rest 40? Can you just help me close that?
So the rest, I think we have. So our product solves some problems that people are actually looking for solutions to, like for instance, revenue attribution. It's something that a lot of customers out there are looking for solutions to. So for these, say, high demand searches, we rank really well and we pay for them. So we also do paid search. And then we also have a sort of quite aggressive strategy on review building and building a presence on G2 and Capterra. And, if you are enterprise, you're doing a lot of talking to analysts at Gartner, etc. But for our market, we're better off investing in G2 and just like getting our customers to talk about us there. And that's also very effective. And then we have, because we integrate with a lot of different technologies, we also have sort of a trickle of customers coming in from those technologies. So you're on HubSpot, but you're looking for someone to fix attribution for you. Okay, you'll find us. Or you're on Segment, you'll find us.
Got it. And this is your top of funnel, right? So just I think obviously I want to focus on the most brilliant thing that you're doing, right? So just talk about this LinkedIn social selling strategy that you have. Just talk clearly what's happening, right? So how many people on your team? What exactly do they do on a regular basis? Do you really go and connect to these cold leads out there? What's the exact strategy? Just talk about that process here.
So the strategy is like, one, make sure you use up all your connections, and two, make sure that you understand that you talk about something that people care about. Don't talk about your product, don't talk about yourself, but talk about the problems that you share with your customers. So you're a salesperson, you're selling. Okay, talk about selling. That will help you engage with an audience that cares about selling and go to market. Don't tell them that your product is going to be fantastic and solve that problem, but just talk about, how you use your own product, or how you have, pains with your boss, or whatever it is that is like something that you care deeply about. Just be quite consistent about talking about that. That's how you build an audience. And it can be, things can range from very serious topics. So it could be like, you're struggling with your boss, or like your burnout, or like you can have different things that are like heavy topics, which are relevant. But you can also have very light stuff like, memes, or you post like, repurpose memes, and we have a lot of success with that.
So how many folks in your team sort of do this on a regular basis, right? So, and how many followers do they have, like typically?
So we have around like 8 people doing this very regularly, and the most successful of them have like plus 10,000 followers. And if you're new to it or not as active as the best of us, then you might be at a couple of thousand followers. So,
and do you as a company, focus on building this audience as well, right? How do you grow that 10,000 number to, let's say, 20,000? Do you have any tips or tricks there, or it just happens organically for you?
We made a conscious decision to make this personal. So I think that's also maybe the risky part of it. It is not as such a company asset. It is more of a personal asset for the commercial person, for the salesperson, or the CS person, or the marketing person. And that works really well on a platform like LinkedIn, where it is personal. But of course, it is, in that sense, a bit risky, because it is not Dreamdata that has all the followers. It is Laura who has the followers, or Stefan, or you have to live with that.
Okay, so it's just you depending upon your team, teammates to sort of go about doing their business and getting things done, right? So you don't have any particular strategy or vision around how many followers you want to grow to. It's just happening organically. Is that how it is?
I think it's happening organically, but also by us talking a lot about it and leading around it, making space for it, and also like talking about it as something that is important to the company.
Got it.
Because that is building a lot of pipeline. Right?
Got it.
It is. So
let's move on to your bottom of funnel, right? I mean, you've got great sort of leads coming in, right? What happens? How do you close a $30,000 deal, right? Like what happens after that? Do you have any sales reps sort of trying to chase those leads and close them out? And how does your sales cycle look like?
Yeah. So we have like an inside sales team that will engage with inbound leads. And the typical inbound lead for us is someone signing up for the free product, or somebody requesting a demo. And I think we also early on made a decision to have a very scalable product so that we could offer free trials and have a free product. So that's part of our maybe DNA as who we are as product people and company builders. So that's a fundamental part of our sales cycle, is letting people try the product so that they can see that it actually works and that it does what we promise it will do. So that's fundamental. And then apart from that, it is, you can say, because you're trying the product, it becomes a bit more of a, say, helpful sale, where the salesperson is maybe less aggressive on pushing the product and more sort of a helpful person trying to, a bit like customer success type of person, helping the customer see the value of the product.
So how many sales people do you have on your team as of today who actually managed to close this 75 deals last year?
We have 4 people.
4 people ended up closing 75 deals, approximately of $20,000-$30,000 ACV.
Yeah,
some that seems insane.
Last year. Yeah,
that seems insane. Well. How is it even working for you? I mean, like, what's really been working, right? Is it just because your product is too good, or what's do you have any insights over there? I mean, it's just too good, and too good to the growth
I think
story,
the
to be honest.
I would say the big thing for us has been the ability to let people try the product. That's been very important for us, and as part of our sort of
So
way of doing
talk about
sales.
what happens, right? Let's say an inbound lead discovers you, right? And they start trying out your free product. They derive some value out of
Yeah.
it. At this point, what happens? Does your salesperson jump there, and what exactly does he do, and how does he end up converting that lead? Just talk about that process.
Yeah, I think there are two paths. So one is like you're signing up for the free product and you're actually just using it. Then we will qualify you as ICP and like, are you sort of fitting our ideal customer profile? If you are, then we will have somebody reach out and in a helpful way say, okay, can I help you try the product and see if this is something that you might consider buying as well.
Okay.
So that's sort of one path. The other path is like a demo request, which is more of a standard journey, which is like you come in, you ask for a demo, you book in the calendar of a rep, and then we would typically go through, the steps of a normal qualification. You'll talk to people, try to figure out if they have a problem we solve, etc. And we would also very often throw in like trying the product. It depends a bit. The larger the company, if you're a large company, it can be hard to try a product because maybe the biggest commitment for a large company is maybe not the money, it's more giving us the data. So they are more, they're not willing to actually try the product because getting to a stage where they can commit to giving us the data actually requires them to go through the entire buying process. So
are most of these customers trying out a revenue attribution platform for the first time, or are they trying to switch from somebody else? Like how does this,
it
data
varies.
look like?
It varies. So European customers, very often it's a first time purchase. US customers very often have had experience with other platforms and are second or third time buyers of a similar type of product.
Got it. Right. And let's talk about your churn, right? I mean, I guess like how are you how are you able to sort of keep hold of your customers, right? So are they churning out? Like how does your expansion rate look like?
I think like churn and expansion is where we're working a lot right now. You can say our product is an analytics product. And right now that's, at least for a lot of our customers, that is what it is. And it means that you're relying on people to look at the product and use the product and do their own analysis and put it into action.
Mm-hmm.
So we are building up a lot of capabilities of the product to make sure that you can have, say, set and forget type of features where you connect and then the product continues to deliver value. Also, if you're not continuously accessing the product. So we do a lot of work in that space. And then the other end is that we very much like customers who work directly with the data and build the data into their daily processes. And I would say if we manage to get those things happening for a customer, then we have very, very low churn rates and nice upsell also.
So do you have any initial numbers on how your expansion look like? So did you manage to convert any $30,000 deal to, let's say, 60,000 or so?
We're not there yet. I think that for us, we've been focusing on driving quite high contracts as the initial contract, and that makes this sort of very big expansion quite hard. Mm-hmm. I think we're maybe leaning a bit towards trying to, I'm not sure about it, but I have a feeling that going for a slightly lower entry point sort of can cut the time of the sale. I don't think we have a very long sales cycle, but you can have more success in sales if you have.
Just like how big is that sales cycle? Is it in months, the quarters? How big is that?
Like 60 days. 60 days from initial contact to closing a deal on average.
Got it. Let's move on to your backstory, right? So I want to understand, like, when did you start the company, right? What's the story there?
So the story of the company is basically with three co-founders, and two of us work together in another SaaS company. And we had all the problems that we're solving now. So we had a ton of data from different go-to-market systems and a lot of tracking data. And the last thing we wanted was to spend like 2 years building data infrastructure, fitting all this data together. But there really wasn't any way around doing that. And basically we said, okay, so we solved it in that context. There was a company called Trustpilot.
Mhm.
And that was great. Lots of value out of that. We had insights that we could never have had any other way, and lots of nice automations based on it. So it's great, very successful project in the company. But at the same time, we're like, why this is not a product?
Mhm.
Like, why did we have to do this when we were using HubSpot, Salesforce, Segment, Google ads, Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads? Like, we were using all the standard stuff. Like, why did we have to sit for 2 years and build data pipelines? That just didn't make sense
Mhm.
because it was so standard.
Yeah.
So that was the fundamental
And where did you
insight
get
and
where did you
thesis.
get your first few customers, first couple of customers?
The first customers, I think what we did is we are sort of coming out of a product and engineering background. So we were quite careful about not assuming that other people would want what we thought was a great idea. So we basically went out, pitched just based on a, deck to network in Copenhagen, where we're from,
Mhm.
and try to find like if anybody else in similar situations we had an idea about who we're going to be selling to,
Yeah.
approaching them, would they actually pay for this? And at some point where we had a couple of people say, okay, we'd actually pay for this. Okay, great, pay us. And then we built sort of initial prototypes with them. That's how we got started. I
And
think
when
that's
was this?
maybe, it's like 18.
2018.
Yeah.
And how many folks do you have on your team as of today, right? How big is your company?
35 people now.
And how many in the GTM, go to market?
And the go-to-market team is like 12 people.
Got it. And yeah, just did you raise any external funding so far to build your company?
Yeah. So we raised actually on three occasions. So we raised, it's at 19 from Seed Camp in London and some other investors, some local investors as well. And then in 2020, also from a London investor and an Icelandic investor. And then we just raised a Series A from a German investor end of last year.
Got it. All right. So one last question here, right? So what's the vision here? Where do you see your company growing in the next 5 years or so?
So the big vision is automating a lot of go-to-market based on the data. I think that is our big vision. You can say Amazon does not employ 1 million salespeople, and we don't see any reason why sort of B2B companies shouldn't be able to have some of the same levels of automation that a company like Amazon has. But one of the big things holding back those companies is data. And we want to solve that problem. And we want to be sort of the foundation for companies in the B2B space becoming as automated in the go-to-market motion.
All right, Lars.
That's a big vision.
Yeah. All right, Lars. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me. Hope you scale Dreamdata to much, much greater heights. Thank you.
Thank you, Vendra.
Thanks for watching the B2B SaaS Podcast channel. I believe that the best way of building SaaS companies is by regularly talking to real founders who are out there building their companies. These founders have gained tons of insights during their journey, and I'm here to bring those to you. So if you want more such stuff, please make sure to subscribe to the channel here.